family. Feel like it's been forever. We didn't do book club last week because I was just in a whole different time zone. Not even just whole different. I was 3 hours behind. I was in. We got some sound. There we go. We got some sound. Yeah, I was on. I was in San Diego, California. Sunny San Diego. And it was pretty much sunny while we was there. Had to do some fiscal stuff. I'm learning a lot about money management and budgeting and the rules behind that for businesses and nonprofits. Just a lot of fiscal information. I have to claim it. I already knew a lot, but I'm learning a lot more. It's wild. It's been wild. Then hey, boop boop boop. Wound up talking with my brother for a little while, and he said he was able to have a conversation with our mother. I'm so proud of that. She hadn't talked to him in almost a year, and me almost 2 years. He had pointed. Siblings is funny, cause he was like, she ain't almost talked to us in a year. Then later on, he was like, shit, it's been about 2 years for you. It has. So I guess we are on a healing path, even though I can't necessarily see it yet, because they were able to have a conversation, which is fantastic. And I talked about the Clifton Strength Finders, and I took another Clifton Strength Finders. I think I'll talk about it on Tuesday, and it has totally changed. Before it was me and fixing things, but ironically, my best skills now are more about connection and people instead of problems and issues. I was good at seeing problems, being able to fix them. Now I'm good at making people feel better about themselves, bringing people together, which is interesting. It's funny because I've taken it 3 times now. And the first 2 times were before we started doing Reiki and all that other stuff. But this third time is after we've done Reiki and all that good stuff. To see the change and transformation has been wild. To go from a fixer to a connector has been wild for me. I can't remember what my number one is. And I took it and read it, but I didn't, put that to memory. Anyway, so family, if this is your first time here, this is Soul Swami Live, where we discuss healing and the evolution of ourselves to become the best version of ourselves. We do that to create a collective energy that we all can tap into, to be connected with people on the same path as us, to be the best version of themselves, create a safe space for vulnerability, openness, conversations, learning, and all those good things. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday show is where we do most of the learning, and Thursday show is a book club in an effort to allow you to reconnect with that childlike energy in you by allowing someone to read to you. So every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are new here, we generally start with a little bit of energy work. This week we are on our sacral. which is below your belly button and includes all of your genital, your reproductive organs, things like that. The sacral is the energy point for your sexuality, your emotions, your sense of pleasure. It is for your creativity and your relationships. If you are into color therapy, whether it be light, clothes, foods, the color for the sacral is orange. So spend some time with some orange light to activate your sacral. Moving your hips is very good for activating your sacral. Eat some oranges, wear some orange clothes. All those things are very good for your sacral. If you are into aromatherapy and essential oils, you want to think rose, patchouli, orange, clary sage. All of those are very good for your sacral. If you are into crystals and gemstones, you want to think, I gotta move. I feel like I'm too far. You want to think tiger's eye, carnelian, amber, orange calcite, citrine, which is my big dog here. This is a giant, well, it ain't giant, I'm not even gonna lie, but it is a big piece of citrine, which is good. I'll be in here activating my sacral on y'all. Bronzite, did I say orange calcite? Orange calcite, all those are very good for your sacral. The next thing we do is a little bit of sound therapy. I'm going to play the bowl for the second. Then we move into breath work, affirmations, and we'll jump right back into the book. So during this time, all you really have to do is this is a space for you to be able to shift energy, get yourself in a comfortable space to be able to enjoy being read to, and all of those fun things. So all you really got to do is just relax, focus on clearing your energy, giving yourself space to be able to have some clear energy, removing the stresses of the day, right? So I swear I be wanting to say your nickname every time I see your name, but I appreciate you joining as always. Gratitude and congratulations on your new endeavors too. Um, yeah, I can't wait to see how you grow and it grows, and I love to see my people, especially people I've known for longer than I care to even tell, to grow and evolve and really invest in themselves. So thank you, sis, as always. All right, so next we'll do our breath work. My spirit still feels like box breath. We did box breath on Tuesday, so I guess that's why I'm into still box breathing now. But if you are unfamiliar with box breathing, it is 4-4-4. You breathe in 4-4 count. You hold your breath 4-4 count, and then you exhale for a 4 count. But during this time, all you really have to do is just focus in on your breath, activating your sacral, and listening to the sound of my voice as I guide us through the breathing exercise. On the count of 3, we will start, family. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Last time, family. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Next thing I want you to do is repeat after me. These affirmations are good to activate your sacral and give you the encouragement and direction you need sometime, and just serves as a good reminder of who you are and your worthiness on this earth. So again, just repeat after me. I am a creative being. I deserve to enjoy life. I am emotionally balanced. I welcome sensuality into my life. I am worthy and lovable. I am a creative being. I deserve to enjoy life. I am emotionally balanced. I welcome sensuality into my life. And I am worthy and lovable. Hey, Tawana, thanks for stopping by for a little bit. Love to see you show up too. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure you come on Tuesdays too. And Tuesdays where we do a lot of learning and a lot of perspective taking, gathering the tools that we need to be able to become the best versions of ourselves. And this is, I didn't do it Tuesday. So this is your weekly reminder that you can purchase. You can support the channel, support your own evolution by purchasing the 7 Spaces of Healing. This is a very good book to help you conceptualize or fully be able to understand 7 very important spaces that will assist you in your healing. A space of love, a space of healing, space of solitude, trust, risk, without judgment, accountability, and a space of forgiveness. You can purchase this book on Amazon now. So again, I'm glad to be back with y'all. I missed you last Thursday. I was having fun. I think I was on the beach at the point. I was doing some sightseeing. We got finished with our stuff early on Thursday, so it allowed me to do a little bit of sightseeing and was all over San Diego. I really, I did like the wide variety of vegetarian, vegan options. I even was throwing down. I went and got me some pastries. I still need to post that video. I've been slack. I got a bunch of videos I need to post, but I just been slacking. But the weather was fantastic. The energy is different. That's what I can say. It's a strange mix of and calm. I don't even know how to describe what is. It's just it's an aggressive, passionate. I keep on saying angry, but it ain't quite angry. It's just aggression, passion. It's just something, and then extreme calm, which is two ends, as we've been talking about the law of polarity. A lot of things that we see as separate are really two ends of the same thing, two extremes of the same thing. So that calm and that aggression is really two ends of the energy, two not separate but the same thing. But I enjoyed it. The food was good. I took a lot of pictures. I made a couple of videos. It was definitely overly expensive for for everything, period, which was some of those things don't even need to be that high. So it was wild though. But I enjoyed it and glad to be back with y'all. But that's what I was doing on Thursday while we missed last Thursday's show. So oh, you got the book? Let me find out. Let me find out. I need to sign your book. Listen, once we get our life together, I'm gonna be out your way. I told you it is one of the states that I cover. We have been a little slack on traveling, so that's been wild. But once we get everything in order, I know I got. As a matter of fact, I just got a recipient in your state. Who is it? Oh, they everywhere. So I could say the name so no one would know what state you in. I know what state you in. But no one else. But child care resources, I generally work with child care resources everywhere. So, well, thank you. Listen, I'm going to sign it. Yeah, I appreciate you. That made my day. I think it is a good break into writing. And I look forward to my next books. They're going to be a little bit, I want to do a little bit of everything. I want to do identity next because I just got a lot of work on identity. And I think that's been huge, especially when it comes to the evolution of ourselves and our energy, the identities that we have subscribed to and the new identities we want to be is big. But then I think at some point I'm going to get it together and write a little story about my life because that's the story everybody keeps saying I need to write about. But gratitude. I appreciate you. That made my day. Between you and my brother, y'all made my day today. You heard? Made my day. For real. All right. Well, I don't even know where we at in the book. Oh, Apollo and that dude William have found the island that on the Hudson where a lot of women and children are. I don't think we quite know who the women and children are or why they're there, but we just know they are there. And he got beat up pretty bad and almost drowned until he said who his wife was. And then they stopped attacking him. So I guess he's in the process of getting ready to meet the leader of the island. I don't even know what to call him, but the chief, I don't know what to call him, but that's where we are in the story. Chapter 56, if you're reading along with us. They let Apollo back, but it took a while. You don't just rebound for this kind of beating that he's taken. He looked as if he'd been flogged, which, in fact, he had. When they reached the courtyard, a deep silence met them. The fire that had been burning was extinguished. Only the electric light in the school remained on. Apollo had the feeling that the entire nurse's residence had been emptied. The same with the doctor's cottage. He imagined the entire population had been ferried out while they'd been trying to murder him at the river. Maybe they had bomb shelter protocols, tornado basement procedures, places they went when the force of great destruction arrived. He imagined all those women and children tucked into some dark, airless bunker and wondered at the idea that they'd fled because of him. This didn't make him feel powerful. Instead, it gave him a different perspective on what had just happened. A strange man showed up in the middle of the night screaming that he was a god, demanding vengeance on his wife. Why wouldn't these women and children be terrified? Of course. Two of the women took him by the arms and guided him toward the school. The lighted room on the second floor looked even brighter now that there were no other signs of the living. Two of the women walked through the front entryway ahead of him, and the other two followed. They moved down the long hallways whose walls slumped distinctly to the left. The walls and the ceiling showed decaying, flaking white paint, and underneath that graying drywall. The floors were covered in a layer of dust that showed their footprints as they moved. There were half a dozen rooms on this floor. Most of them looked like small, long, defunct offices. The sounds of their feet scuffling through the dust echoed up to the ceiling. As they climbed the stairs, the shuffling echoed too. Cal told me what to do, but I don't know if I can do it. Apollo heard the woman from the church basement now, just as clearly as he had then. Maybe he had reached in some way to the memory, made some kind of sharp movement on the stairs, because one of the women behind him snapped him with their club on the right shoulder. He had to stop and catch his breath. The pain returned him to the moment and reminded him that guards were there. At the top of the stairs, they found another hallway that led off into another series of long, unused rooms. A bright light shone out of a room halfway down. The women led him to the room. This one had a door. 2 words were stenciled there: Principal's office. A woman stood alone inside, her back to Apollo as he entered. She stooped over a long table, covered it with materials, varied blocks and shapes he couldn't quite make out. There was another desk, clearly salvaged, stacked high with papers and very old word processor, a gray block that took up a third of the desktop. The plug for the processor ran down to a red 3,000-watt Honda super quiet generator. The generator sat tucked up against one of the walls that had a large hole in it, and it chugged its exhaust out into the night air. Apollo hadn't heard the generator even when he had been in the hallway. In here, it sounded as if someone was running a small lawnmower far out in the courtyard. 2 standing lamps flanked the table where the woman stood, still with her back to him. 2 of the corners of the room were left in darkness, but compared to the rest of the island, this might as well have been the Eiffel Tower lit up at night. Apollo stepped into the room. One of the women who led him entered quickly, gingerly, and dropped keys on the desk with the word processor. His cell phone lay on the table. Someone else had found it. How? The woman spoke without turning. It fell into the courtyard when he caught it. One of the children found it and brought it to me. I thought I trained you to be careful. You did. I'm sorry. Sloppy, the woman replied. The guard nodded, then returned to the others at the doorway. She left a faint trail of water dripping from her cloak. The 4 women who tried to drown him turned and left. Now he was alone with her. She moved 2 steps to the right, picking up something from the table. She had the short, no fuss haircut that many older women, and her hair was so gray it looked nearly white. She wore slightly loose black leggings with an overlarge gray sweater that draped elegantly down to her thighs. She looked like Eileen Fisher. When she turned, the effect became even stranger. She wore a sock puppet on either hand. She doesn't have sock puppets on in the TV show. And it's the mom from, I forgot the show. It's back out now too. Which one's scarier? She asked. She smiled impishly. She knew exactly the wild effect she had, and this made her seem playful and powerful at once. Here, she was alone with him, and it didn't seem to worry her one iota. He wasn't in any shape to do her harm. He couldn't lift his arms, and he felt his legs only because of the constant throbbing in his thighs. "Hello," she said, raising both hands high. "They didn't cut out your tongue, did they?" She squinted at him. "No, they would have given it to me." The puppet on her right hand was made of a dark green sock with a pair of googly eyes attached. It had a rainbow-colored horn for a nose. If not for the horn, it would have looked like Kermit the Frog. The other sock was an orange with 3 eyes spaced far apart. This made it all look wall-eyed. Its nose was sunflower decal. "Neither one is scary," Apollo finally said. The woman turned her hands and looked as if she and the puppets were staring at one another. "I was afraid of that," she said. "You're Cal?" She nodded and sighed as she watched the puppets a little longer. "That's me. It's short for Callisto. Come closer." Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you, family. Apollo limped halfway across the room, but still must have gone a little too fast for comfort. From the edge of his vision, he saw movement. The 2 darkened corners in the room seemed to shiver, tremble. Then, out from the darkness came 2 women draped in the familiar dark green robes. The shadows had hidden them, but now they wanted to be seen. Each was armed with a club, just like the women in the courtyard, except the tips of these clubs jutted with nails, makeshift maces. Surprised, terrified of another beating, Apollo stumbled backward. He would have fallen except Cal was there and caught him. "It's all right," Cal said. Apollo couldn't tell if she was talking to the guards or to him. She'd taken off the sock puppets and her nails scraped his jacket. "They were very protective of me, but you're not going to do anything bad, are you?" "No," Apollo said. He felt the firmness of Cal's grip and realized she was actually holding his arms down by his side. If he'd fought back just then, he would have broken free before those 2 Imperial guards got close enough to drive a nail through his brain. "I'm putting on a show for the kids tomorrow night," Cal said. "Why don't you help me make a good puppet?" Cal walked back to the table, and from here Apollo could see the kinds of materials that were laid out. Bags of socks in every color, sticks of glue, a glue gun, piles and piles of felt in different colors, length and string of black, blue, red, yellow, and green multicolored bundles of pipe cleaners, 2 adult scissors, and a dozen smaller safety scissors, tiny hair ribbons and clip-on bows, miniature bow ties. There were 2 small sets on the table, too. A cardboard box that had been made into a cottage and another, this one standing upright with a single window cut out at the top. "Can you guess which story I'm going to tell?" Cal asked, pointing to the shoeboxes. Apollo watched the guards, who hadn't moved back to their shadows yet. Each clutched a mace in her hand. Their narrow faces and high-set eyes made them look like a pair of pharaoh hounds, elegant but wary. They were quite tall, Patrice height, and slim. This was clear even under their cloaks. Their stances were the same. They were twins. She waved them back. They moved 3 steps, and Cal waved them back further. Finally, they returned to the shadows, but Apollo could never unsee them. How about now? Cal asked, pointing to the cardboard sets again. Can you guess? She moved behind the upright box, pulled a new puppet on to one hand, and slipped it through the tower window. A pair of rough, raggedy orange braids fell from the scalp so long they reached the table. Rapunzel, Apollo said. That's it, she said. You probably think you know the fairy tale, but I'll bet you don't remember all of it. Can I practice it on you before I do it with the kids? Chapter 57. An old man and a woman had long wished to have a child, but they had no luck. Every night they prayed and prayed for change. One day, the woman looked out a window into the garden nearby. There she saw a field of Rapunzel, and she longed for it. She told her husband what she craved, and he wished to see her happy, so he decided to go and steal some Rapunzel. Even though that garden was the property of an enchantress, known and feared throughout the town, nevertheless, he climbed into the garden and stole the Rapunzel and made his wife a meal, and she enjoyed it. But because she was now with child, her cravings didn't go away. So the husband climbed into the garden a second time. This time, when he plucked the Rapunzel, the enchantress appeared. How dare you, she shouted. Thief, I will make you pay. The old man pleaded for his life. He explained he stole only to feed his beloved wife, and this answer moved the enchantress. She agreed she wouldn't curse him, and he could take as much Rapunzel as he liked, but when the baby was born, he had to give it to her. The old man felt so terrified, he'd agreed to anything to save his life. And on that day, when the baby came, the enchantress appeared and took the child and named it Rapunzel. This is very different than the Rapunzel that we learned. The girl grew healthy and strong, but when she turned 12, the enchantress took the girl and hid her away inside a tower that had no doors and only one window. The enchantress visited every morning and got in by calling, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. The girl would drop her long braids through the window and the enchantress would climb. One day, a prince rode by on his horse. He heard Rapunzel singing in her tower, and her voice was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. He found the tower, but couldn't guess how to get in. He returned many times until one day he saw the enchantress call out, and the braids came down, and up the old woman went. The prince waited until the enchantress left at night. Then he went and called out, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. When the hair came down, he climbed up, and Rapunzel was quite scared. He explained he'd heard her voice and had fallen in love with her. With time, he soothed Rapunzel's fears. He returned her each night after the enchantress had gone. When he asked her to marry him, she came up with a plan. Return each night with a handkerchief. When they had enough, she would make a rope and climb down to him, and they would run away. But one day, while the enchantress was there, young, naive Rapunzel asked why the enchantress had such a hard time climbing her hair when the young prince climbed up so easily. Aha! The enchantress shouted. You conniving girl! She grabbed Rapunzel's braids and wrapped them around one hand, and with a pair of scissors she cut them off. Then she took Rapunzel from the tower and exiled her into the desert, where she would never be found. Yeah, it is a little different. That night, when the prince arrived, the enchantress let down the hair when he called, but when he climbed up, he found only the enchantress. The treasure you seek is gone. Now come so I can destroy you. The prince, terrified, jumped from the tower to save his life. He landed in thorns at the bottom, and they gouged out his eyes. Blinded, he ran off and wandered the land for years. One day the prince heard a sound in the distance, a song he had not heard in a lifetime. He followed it until he stumbled before Rapunzel, where she lived now, in the desert, with her 2 children. What? Rapunzel was so shocked to see him that she grabbed him and held him close. Her tears fell across her eyes and healed him. Now he could see. He led Rapunzel and their boy and girl back to his kingdom, where they lived happily ever after. If she couldn't be found in the desert, who found her to have children with her? I be having too many questions. Chapter 58. You're going to tell that story to little children? They were still in the principal's office. Apollo remained standing and cowed behind the table, the Rapunzel puppet on her hand. She hadn't used it the whole time. Instead, she become lost in the telling itself, as had Apollo. Even the guards stepped out from the corners, hands down by their sides, and heads tilted as they listened. Cal pointed at Apollo. Bingo. Fairy tales are not for children. They didn't used to be anyway. These were the stories peasants told to each other around the fire after a long day, not to their kids. This is how adults talk to each other. Fairy tales became stories for children in the 1700s. Around that time, this weird new group started appearing in parts of Europe, the merchant class. Merchants were making money, and they wanted to live better than the lower classes did. This meant there were new rules about how to behave, both for the adults and the kids. Fairy tales changed accordingly. Now they had to have a moral, something to train those children in the new rules, which is when they started turning to shit. A bad fairy tale has some simple goddamn moral. A great fairy tale tells the truth. Cal picked up a bag of socks and held it out to Apollo. She pointed to the sock puppets she'd been wearing when he arrived. One of those is going to be the enchantress, but I can't make her scary enough. You give it a try? He pulled out a gray sock. Are you going to tell me about my wife? Is Emma here? To this there was no answer. It was as if he didn't speak at all. Your guards tried to kill me, he said as he laid the sock flat on the table. Cal followed Apollo's example and took out a gray sock of her own. Years ago, one husband found us, she said. This is long before we moved to this island. He brought 2 guns with him and so much rage. I made the mistake of trying to talk with him, to make him see, but it didn't work. He did a lot of damage. He killed 3 women and 7 kids. Shot me twice, but I came through. Since then, I decided we had to protect ourselves. We left the world and we came to this island. We armed ourselves as best could. And if men showed up, we were more proactive. Apollo slipped the sock onto his right hand, then brought his thumb fingers together until he saw the semblance of a face. His knuckles at the top of a ridged skull. Exactly how many men have you killed before? Apollo said. We're like the police, Cal said. We don't track those numbers. The irony. She walked around Apollo and plugged the glue gun into an extension cord that ran across the room and into the generator. Already, he become used to the faint chug of the machine. When she plugged in the glue gun, the generator chugged slightly louder. She handed the glue gun to him. Can I get some of those cotton balls over there? Apollo asked. He spoke to Cal, but looked at the dark corners where the guards stood. She picked up a stick of glue and tapped him gently on the nose. That's the spirit. Standing here, Apollo could look at the desk where the big word processor sat, and beside that, a small jumble of papers. There were children's drawing. The picture on top was a tall, craggy mountain, and at the bottom of the mountain, a deep black cave. Inside the cave, two yellow eyes floated. He thought he saw a faint outline of an open mouth below the eyes. He felt mesmerized by the picture. Cotton balls, Cal said, pulling him from his trance, dropped a handful into his palms. Will your enchantress have gray hair? She held up the glue gun and pulled the trigger gently until a teardrop of glue appeared. Apollo looked down at the cotton balls for a moment. It seemed as if he held a cloud in one hand. How do we protect our children? Cal said quietly. Apollo watched the soft little shape in his palm. Obviously, I don't know. No, Cal said. This is what Rapunzel is about. That's the question it's asking. She brought the glue gun to the sock on her hand and dabbed twice. Then she affixed two googly eyes. She opened her hand flat inside in the sock and squeezed out a few circles of glue. She pressed an oval of red felt to the spot, then brought her hand close again so that the red felt became the inside of a mouth. The old man and woman have a child, Cal said, but they do nothing to protect it. They're completely hands off, and the baby gets snatched away. Quickly, expertly, Cal took some green string from a pile and glued it to the top of the sock. Locks of mossy-looking hair. She found small, pre-cut bits of black felt and affixed them above the googly eyes. Eyebrows. Two small pieces of brown felt became the ears. The enchantress hides the girl away in the tower. She won't let the child do anything in the world without her. She's a helicopter parent. Two long pieces of brown felt turned into a pair of arms. But the prince still finds a way inside, doesn't he? No matter what we do, the world finds its way in. So then, how do we protect our children? Hundreds of years ago, German peasants were asking one another this question, but rather than frame it as a question, they turned it into a story that embodied the concern. How do we protect our children? It's 2015, and we're still trying to find an answer. The new fears are the old fears, and the old fears are ancient. She held up the finished puppet. Now, I know this isn't frightening, Cal said, grinning, but when I do the show tomorrow night, the children will talk to this puppet as if she were as real as me. Actually, they'll think of this puppet as more real than me. She held the puppet close to Apollo's face until her own lost focus and disappeared. She didn't move her hand to pretend the puppet was speaking, and she used her normal speaking voice. She just let it hover there before him, and the longer he looked at it, the more it came to life. The Scottish call it glamour, Cal said. Glamour? It's an old kind of magic, an illusion to make something appear different than it really is. A monster might look like a beautiful maiden. A ruined castle appears to be a golden palace. A baby. Her voice drifted off. Apollo found himself speaking to the puppet just as Cal said the children would. Not a baby, he whispered. What a smart boy, the puppet said. But this isn't a fairy tale, Apollo said. 1 second. Are you sure? The best way to clear the air is to have it all out in the open, a man's voice, outside in the courtyard. Cal's fingers closed into a fist, and the puppet lost all animation. The mouth shut and the eyes curled over. It was like watching a soul slip out of a body. Cal dropped the hand, and Apollo watched the guards move quickly to the windows and looked down. One of them said, "Another man." Cal looked back at Apollo with such fury he thought she'd order the guards to tear his skull right open right there. You didn't come along, she hissed. Why didn't you tell us? Apollo wanted to explain. He completely forgotten about William for the moment he stepped into this room. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. William Willis shouted in the courtyard. He sounded giddy or insane. Until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. Seclusion rooms, Cal ordered. Both of them. Seclusion rooms. Jail cells? Chapter 59. The seclusion rooms were located in the tuberculosis pavilion. That's interesting. It was the largest, best equipped building in the complex. 4 stories of red brick with enough bed space in its prime for 300 patients. It was the one structure Kyle declared out of bounds for the members of her community. The women had even designed makeshift barriers to keep the kids out, stacks of tattered furniture and rubble that would be tough for most young children to scale. The only area of the building ever put to use were these seclusion rooms, a makeshift prison. Cal and her guards walked Apollo and William to the pavilion, while one twin pried away the boards tacked over the doorway. The other stood behind the prisoners, mace at the ready. This one held up William's phone. What was he doing when they found him? Cal asked. The pop of wooden boards sounded like gunshots. He was on the shoreline with the phone's light on, just standing there waving it over his head side to side. Did he have a signal? Cal asked, taking the phone. Could he make a call? No, the guard said. He was just waving the thing. Apollo tried to catch William's eye, but it wasn't working. William looked at the night sky as if he was out strolling. He smiled faintly. If not for the location, you would have thought he was a middle-aged man stargazing in his backyard. Cal growled her next questions. Why the fuck haven't you destroyed this yet? Thought you should see what else he has on the phone. The last of the boards were freed from the entry door, and the other guard opened it. Apollo couldn't get any sense of the depth of the hallway or its width, the height of the ceiling. So dark inside, there might have been no floor beyond the threshold, just a bottomless pit. Oh God, Cal said quietly as she scrolled through his phone. This is Greta's husband? The guard behind Apollo pushed him forward, toward the shadowy hallway. Before he took a step, Cal smashed the phone into the back of William's head. He stumbled, but he didn't fall. So, she hit him again. He barked, a real animal noise, but he still didn't go down. One of the twins kicked the back of William's leg. He yelped and went to his hands and knees. His glasses flew off, and he scurried after them instantly, automatically. Cal brought the phone down 5 more times on William's back. William lay in the dirt, huffing. She dropped the phone on the ground right near William's head, and the guard who kicked him brought the mace down 4 times. It crunched and crackled. It died. We should tell her he's here, Cal said. She'd want to be here when we kill him. You have a phone number? William asked. Can you share it with me? The guards kicked at him until he went flat in the dirt. Now Apollo was pushed forward. He entered the dark doorway cautiously. Apollo heard William groaning. He must have been trying to rise. He spat and coughed. Eventually the twins had dragged him in. The seclusion rooms were essentially mess cages. There was a deadbolt to lock patients in. All of this had been put in place back when this was an infectious disease hospital, and it was kept that way for years when this place serviced juvenile addicts. Now Apollo and William were in them, 2 cages side by side. They could see each other, talk to each other. though the mess was too tightly woven for them to reach through. At least I got my glasses back, William said as he stood with his back to the cage door. There were window frames in each room, the windows smashed out long ago. Mesh wiring lay across the frames, so escape was impossible, but moonlight entered and gave each cage a blue tint. They knew who you were, Apollo said. Cal said your wife's name and you kept a few things from me. He stood at the window looking outside. Well, obviously, William said. He turned his glasses around as if he could catch his reflection in them. He smiled as if he was checking his teeth for stains. Then he slipped them on and looked at Apollo. They beat the shit out of me, Apollo shouted. His thigh still hurt, his lower back too. I'm sorry for that, William said. Really. And if I'm honest, I didn't think we'd make it this far. I've been going up and down the East River for months. Been on every island looking for Cal, but somehow I kept missing this place. Then you spotted it for the first time. You don't see, but you will. Apollo heard Emma's voice, the last words she ever spoke to him, and he shivered. He tugged at the red string on his middle finger, the knot held. Apollo looked up, slightly confused, overwhelmed, trying to make sense of so many things. If you've been going up and down this river for months, then you didn't learn how to drive a boat today, Apollo said. My father had me out on boats since I was a baby. We're Norwegians originally. Sailing is in our blood. But what's the point of all of this, Apollo said. Why keep it from me? Trust takes time. But I didn't pick your name out of a hat, I confess. I knew who you were. From the news, Apollo said, feeling so naive for having ever believed otherwise. Not the news about what Emma did. I knew who you were long before that. I read about your wife giving birth on the A train. We never spoke to the press about that, Apollo said. You didn't, William agreed, but the press covered it. Emma was brought to the Harlem hospital. They issued a birth certificate. You remember what I told you before I gave you the video of Emma? A person who has a computer connection and who really cares can dig up nearly anything. Apollo kicked at the mesh wall between his cage and William's. But why? Why do all that? I was just living my life, and you're in your house looking through some stranger's personal business? William walked closer to Apollo and patted the mesh wall gently. Greta had just left me. They were gone, and my home was empty. I was in free fall. I wasn't thinking straight. I read about the stuff on the A train, and I just had so much time all of a sudden. And as good as I was at finding information, I couldn't find a damn thing about Greta. It was like she disappeared, and she had. She'd come here to be with Cal. I didn't know it then, though. So I had all this time and read your A-Train story, and a mix of boredom and curiosity and just plain going nuts sent me down this path. I found Emma's name, but I also found out yours. I learned about your business. I found you on Facebook, and there are all kinds of pictures of your son. 10 pictures in a post, 12. Half of them too blurred to see straight, but it didn't matter. You were so happy. You were so proud. And I understood that. I felt like this guy knows how good it can be. Loving someone so damn much. Me and this guy, we're the same. He gets why family is important. But really, all this came about because Greta ran off with my daughter and destroyed my family. If that hadn't happened, we would have never met. Daughters, Apollo said. You told me you had 2. Was that a lie too? No, William said. For the first time, his voice softened. I had to. Because of the moonlight, Apollo could see his face. William wept. Apollo stood in place. His brain felt as if it had short-circuited. He had the instinct to console the man, yet he'd lied about so much. Still, he felt one thing to be completely true. This man had lost his family, and it had driven him a little insane. Apollo could identify with that much. William slapped the mesh wall, and Apollo jumped back. I called in the cavalry, William said. I'm sorry. I couldn't try to help you, but that's what I was doing when they had you. What did that mean? Apollo asked. The police? The FBI? William ignored the question, offering something more relevant instead. Now I'm going to pull back the very last veil, Apollo. I'm going to put every card I have face up on the table. Emma is alive. We know this. You want to find her. Cal, all these women here, they are not going to help you find her, no matter what they say. They only protect their own. But I could help you find Emma. I would travel to the ends of the earth with you. But, Apollo said, but you have to help me get Greta and Grace back first. You help me, and then I will help you. And I can be very resourceful, as you've learned. Apollo walked closer to the window and looked out at the night sky, up at the nearly full moon, as if preparing to make a wish. What are you asking me to do? Just talk to Greta for me, William said. They're not going to let me see her. Not while I'm still in the state to talk. But she doesn't know you. You could explain how far I've come. You could tell her I know it wasn't her fault. That she and I both lost our minds after Agnes died. That was our baby. I haven't said that name out loud in almost a year. Agnes, my sweet girl. I understand now that it wasn't Greta's fault, though. I want to beg her for forgiveness for all the ways I was short-tempered and quick to accuse. I want to offer her my forgiveness if she wants it. I want her and Grace to come back home. I want my family, what's left of my family, to be whole again. I'm asking you to tell her all that. How do you know I'll even see her? They might come in and just shoot both of us. You heard her. She'll call Greta. If Greta knows I'm here, she'll come. Maybe she really doesn't want to see me dead, but I don't think it's that simple. It's never between two people. If they take you elsewhere and you see Greta, you tell her what I said. If Greta forgave me, then maybe they'd let me go. I don't know, but it's the only chance I have left. You are the only chance I have left. I don't want to die without trying. Apollo turned from the moon to look at William in the other cage. What if I say no? William coughed until he choked. Eventually he recovered. Man to man, if you don't help me, everyone is going to die on this island, even me. Who's coming here? Apollo asked. I won't call it off, William said. I won't even try. With that, William walked into the far corner of his cage where the moonlight didn't reach. He lay on the ground in the darkness, rolled his coat into a pillow, and bedded down for the night. Apollo never fell asleep. All right, family, we do one more chapter and then we wrap it up. Doop. Chapter 60. Oh, shit. Cal arrived just after dawn with the twin guards. The twins looked as tired as Apollo felt, their eyes as red as cinnamon hearts, but their posture remained rigid as a pair of hunting rifles. Cal opened the door to Apollo's seclusion room, and William set up the watch. He slipped on his glasses as if without them he'd be underdressed. Cal stepped into Apollo's cage. She wore the same clothes as the night before. Her gray sweater looked as if she slept in it. The hem of it showed traces of dirt and leaves. Good morning, Pearl, William said. For the first time since Apollo met her, she looked startled. Pearl Walker, he said, raised off the coast of Maine, in trouble with the law for habitual shoplifting, a heavy drinker, a mother of one. Do you even remember the name of your high school? Because I could tell you. Cal pulled her gray sweater tighter to herself and looked down at the floor as she breathed deeply. When she lifted her head, her cool had returned. I wanted to douse you in gasoline and light you on fire last night. Cal walked towards William, but then I thought Greta might want to do it. I sent someone in the boat to fetch her last night, right after we put you here. William tapped the mesh wall gently, as if Cal was the animal caught inside and not him. What about my daughter? You mean the one you killed? Cal asked. You won't even see her in the afterlife. William's face set into a mask of true hate. Sorceress, enchantress. Every word you speak is a lie. Cal gestured for Apollo to walk out of his cage, but Apollo couldn't do anything but stare at William. You're saying he killed his daughter? She's lying to you, you nitwit. She's casting a spell. That's what witches do. I've decided to give you one more chance, Cal said to Apollo, ignoring William. Cal had something tucked under one arm, hidden in the folds of her sweater, but Apollo could see the way that she kept one arm tight against her side. Maybe it was a gun. Maybe William told the truth and this was nothing more than a ruse to take him outside and put a few bullets in his skull. And if so, what could he do about it? Why? Apollo asked. Why give me another chance? Emma told me about you, Apollo, while she stayed with us. She and I spoke quite a bit. She told me you'd come here, but I didn't believe her. I thought we'd done a pretty good job at hiding ourselves away. I told her no man could find us on this island, but here you are. Just like that. Just like she said. She didn't mention this one being with you, though, so I had to think things over for the night. That's why I'm giving you a second chance. You betray us again, and you won't get a third. Now, come on. She waved him out and adjusted her other arm one more time. Whatever she had there almost slipped when she gestured. Apollo moved to the cell door. He didn't look at William. William shouted as Kyle and the guards led Apollo away, but the words, if they were words, remained unintelligible. He sounded instead like an animal who knows its end is near and resists the knowledge as much as the death. Apollo Kagawa would never see William Wheeler again. No lie, we'll do one more. Chapter 61. Cal didn't speak to Apollo until they left the TB pavilion. The twin guards, as before, said nothing. Apollo kept watching one of them to bring a mace down on his head for Cal to reveal a pistol, raise it, and shoot. He had little to say as he anticipated his execution. As soon as they were outside again, Cal reached into the depth pocket of her sweater. This is for you, she said. She stopped him and turned him toward her. No way, Apollo said. No way. Cal held out a copy of a children's book. Outside over there. How did you get this? He asked. I left this in my home on my bookshelf. She laughed. You do know there's more than one copy of this book in the world. Apollo took it from her and held it gingerly. He almost suspected it explode in his hands. I told you that Emma and I spoke. We had a lot of late nights together. She told me about your father, about this book, and how much it meant. What does it have to do with my father? Apollo opened the cover as if the answers would be written there on the end papers. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about this book, this story. I want you to understand where you found yourself. This island? For a start, Cal said. She took his arm and led him back toward the courtyard. She steadied him in the places where the land slipped, dipped, or rose, and she pulled him when he nearly walked into a tree. He couldn't stop staring down at the book. Confusion threatened to drown him like the rising waters of a flood. You were in New York when you got on Willard's boat, and for a time, you were in the East River. You probably passed Rikers Island. Maybe you went under the Whitestone Bridge or the Throg's Neck. But when you got close to us, when you approached our island, you crossed into new waters. And when you breached that boat, you were in a different shore. The Amazons were said to live on the island of the Miskria, and the Yonglu people of Australia tell the Broglu the island of the dead, magical places where the rules of the world are different. You've crossed into such a space, Apollo. This is North Brother Island, he said. Ahead, he heard the sound of children now, laughter and squealing. It was, Cal said, but then when we arrived and remade it. As they stepped through the brush into the courtyard, Apollo saw women and children out, buzzing off in this direction or that. Young children were being led or carried down a path Apollo hadn't seen last night. They moved toward a small building with a series of windows facing the courtyard. Apollo watched the kids go in. Their small heads disappeared as the women inside the buildings gestured for them to sit. Behind this woman, there was a blackboard on the wall. A schoolhouse, Apollo said. A one-room schoolhouse. It's the library, Cal told him. But it serves as their school as well. Are you hungry? Yes, Apollo said. He couldn't stop watching the window. He couldn't even see the children, but imagine them there, sitting cross-legged, attention on the teacher. There were so many commonplaces, events he had expected to enjoy when Brian was born. Peeking in on his child during class, parent-teacher conferences, helping with the homework in the evening. He hadn't understood what a luxury such drudgery would be until he lost that chance. We take our meals there, Cal said, gesturing to another ramshackle building. One of the twins brought a hand to his shoulder and pushed him forward. He drifted on just so he wouldn't fall. He clutched the book tighter to his belly. They'd reached the doorway. Cal stepped in first. Inside, a woman sat on the floor in a small groups, plates of bowls in their laps. They noted him, every single one. More than a few of them tense, even rose to their feet as if to rush him. But since he was being escorted by Cal and the guards, they returned to the pleasure of paying attention to one another rather than him. To his surprise, Apollo found himself scanning the faces, looking for William's wife. He didn't even know what she looked like, but he sought her out anyway. Did he plan to help William? He didn't know. Me and you be sisters, Cal said softly as she moved through the room. A kind of greeting, perhaps. We be the same. The women responded all together. Me and you, coming from the same place. How long was she here? Apollo asked as Cal led him toward the one table in the room where a series of serving plates sat. 3 months, Cal said, on and off. On and off? She went back to New York at least once a week. She was the one who stocked our library. She was shocked when she saw how little we had. To her, life without books wasn't living. Even out here, Emma wanted the kids to read. She couldn't stop being a librarian. The kids appreciated. Some of the other women felt judged. Apollo burned with hunger but had no appetite. Cal filled a bowl with oatmeal. This is good on a cold morning, she said. How did she get back and forth? I'm sure the water taxi doesn't make stops at your magic island. We have our own navy, Cal said. Sprinkled a spoonful of brown sugar on the oatmeal. Navy's an exaggeration. We have a trawler and one small watercraft, a creek boat. It's built for one. You use a paddle. Emma brought books back in the creek boat. She knew how to use a creek boat to cross the East River. There were a few spills, Cal said, leading him now to another corner where they could talk alone. But your wife never gives up. Didn't you know that about her? She's got a will on her. Yeah, Apollo said. That I knew. Cal squatted on the ground and patted the floor for him to follow. She set the oatmeal in his lap. He placed the book down on the ground. Instead of eating, he scanned the story. When Papa was away at sea, Cal read aloud. Apollo leafed through the pages. Mama sitting on the bench in the garden. Ida inside the house with the baby, playing her horn. At the window, the small figures of purple robes, their faces shrouded in shadows. The goblins were sneaking in. He stopped here, pulling his hand away from the book. Cal reached out and turned the page for him. Now Ida stayed playing her horn and looking out the window. Behind her, the goblins carried her baby sister away. The child's mouth opened in a shout, the eyes filled with fear and pleading. But Ida couldn't hear her sister over the music. In the crib, the creatures left a replacement, a baby identical to Ida's little sister, wearing the same bedclothes except the replacement had been carved out of ice. On the next page, Ida lifted the ice child and held it close, cooing. Ida whispered to the thing, saying, "I love you," but the creature couldn't return Ida's embrace because it wasn't alive. Cal closed the book again. "I don't know why your father read this book to you when you were little," she said, "but I'm showing you this book because it tells the truth. You and Emma have ended up in one ugly fairy tale. Every woman on this island has been where you are now. It won't do for you to shut your eyes and pretend otherwise. You've crossed the waters and you can't go back. William was right about at least one thing. We are witches. But let me tell you what else is true. The man in that cage consorts with monsters." Apollo took a moment to wonder again at the threat of William's cavalry. "I won't call it all. I won't even try." Hey, happy Thursday. I'm glad you showed up anyway. I feel like, it's just one of them days. It's just one of them days. So it's all good. I appreciate you. Facebook fam showed up today. So it was lit like that. But always, I thank you. Even though times got rough, you never turned away. You were right there. And I thank you. Thank you. That's one of the Boys II Men songs I love. When I about had enough. So anyway, I appreciate you. Woo, Jesus, man, listen. That working out be having my body sore sometimes, but when it ain't sore, I be feeling good. So I won't knock it, but I appreciate you. Thank you for your time, your support as always, family. Right? Jukebox. I hope to see you Tuesday, as Tuesday should be the last episode of the 12 Universal Laws. We wrapping them up, doing some exercises to be able to practice our use and understanding of the laws. If you can't be, scratch. Next week, I'm going to be in Florida. But Florida is on the same time. So generally we just do some freestyle. So next week, Tuesday, we'll probably do some freestyle again. We might be able to have book club on Thursday because I think I head out Friday. So yeah, so I'll be in Florida. We should be able to have book club, and we'll just have some random conversations, bull jiving, maybe some walking around. I'll be outside when we be traveling. We'll be on the beach again, so we might do this one by the water, something like that. But we'll be out of town next week, but I hope to catch you on Tuesday. If you can't make it, if you can't make it Tuesday, I hope to see you back here again on Thursday as we continue reading Changeling. And before we go, let me remind you that you are a creative being. that you deserve to enjoy life, that you are emotionally balanced. You can welcome sensuality into your life, and you are worthy and lovable. I thank you, family, and until next time, peace.